So today we're going to discuss the last topic for the term, which is the computation for the after-tax weighted average cost of capital. In chapters 5 and 6, as you can see here in our chapter 19 of our text, which is included in your quiz on Saturday. So that's chapter 5 and 6 and 19. We learned we learned that when we evaluate projects, we have to make use of forecasted after-tax cash flows. Okay, and we include the project's risk through discounting, and we actually did not estimate the opportunity cost of capital. We will do that here. We're going to compute for the weighted average cost of capital, the after-tax cost of capital. And in this chapter, there's also the discussion on the adjusted present value. Just kindly read this portion. We won't be able to discuss that in this class, but I think you'll be able to easily understand that. What's important for us is the other topics in this chapter, which is to know how to compute for the weighted average cost of capital. And the title is After Tax Weighted Average Cost of Capital. Why is it after tax? It's called after tax weighted average cost of capital because when we compute for this one, R sub D, this is the cost of debt. Notice that we multiply it by 1 minus tax rate. So multiplying it by 1 minus tax rate means it reduces your cost of debt by 1 minus tax rate. For example, if it's 30%, if the tax rate is 30%, then the effective cost of debt is simply 70% of the computed cost of debt. Okay, so the formula for the weighted average cost of capital is simply D over V is simply the weight of the debt. Okay, V is the value of the total assets, market value, and E over V is the ratio of the equity over the total assets. So take note, D over V and plus E over V is 100%. So you're just getting the proportion of your debt financing in your equity financing. So the RE is your return on equity or cost of equity, and it's not netted against debt. I'm sorry, tax. It's not netted against tax. So you don't multiply this by 1 minus tax, only the cost of debt. Okay, so we will have examples of that. So, and in your text, you have this example. Okay, you have your debt at, this is the book value, and this is your market value. So we use the market value. Unless there's you don't have the figures for the market value, then you can use the book value. So we have this. This is the book market value of the debt and the market value of the equity. So total market value of the asset of the firm is 1,250. So you can easily get the proportion of debt and proportion of equity. So the proportion of debt is 500 divided by 1,250. The proportion of equity is 750 over 250. Okay, and we can compute for that. So we're given that the cost of debt is 6%, the cost of equity is 12.5%, the tax rate is 21%. Then easily we can compute for the weighted average cost of capital. So the ratio of the debt ratio is 500 over 1,250. That's 40%. It means that the debt financing of the company is 40%, while the equity financing is 60%. This should add to 100%. Okay, so to compute for the weighted average cost of capital, we just multiply the cost of the debt, which is 0.6. and then net it against the tax rate. So the tax rate is 21%. So we multiply it by 1 minus tax rate. Okay. In other words, ang cost ng debt is only 79% of the computed cost of debt. Okay. And then si equity naman, ang cost ng equity is 12.5%. Multiply that by the weight of equity, which is 60%. Notice that the cost of equity is greater than the cost of debt. Why is that so? We learned, guys, that equity is more expensive than it's more, it's riskier, thus it's more expensive. Kasi ang debt, guys, alam natin pag may bonds, for example, may may constant interest payments, no? The lender will receive interest payments regularly hanggang dun sa life, hanggang sa term ng bonds. While si equity wala. Tapos pag nag-liquidation in the event of bankruptcy, ang unang binabayaran yung mga debt holders compared to shareholders. So equity is expected, the cost of equity is expected to be greater than the cost of debt. Okay, so itong 9.4 na to, guys, ito na yung gagamitin sa capital budgeting. So this is the weighted average cost of capital. Ito yung mga previously binibigay ko lang sa inyo. But now we're going to learn how to compute it, at least the basics of it. So when we evaluate net present value projects, okay, gagamitin natin itong weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so to compute for the IRR, to compute for the NPV, we're going to use the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, let's move on. For this one, we're not going to discuss anymore the use of free cash flow. Okay, to value a firm. Although dati nagbigay na tayo ng example dyan. If you recall, guys, in first few weeks natin, we had an example of valuing a firm based on free cash flow. Okay, but what's important here is, okay, horizon value. Okay, it will not be included in the exams. Okay, actually 5-2, guys. You can just read through this, but don't expect that this will appear in the finals nor in the exams on maybe just the concept. Okay, so ito example lang, guys, ng pag-compute ng weighted average cost of capital. Ito, meron tatlong components, no? You have the debt financing, you have preferred financing, then you have equity financing. Okay, we'll have an example of that dun sa Excel. Right? So I won't discuss here how to compute it kasi ano tayo na example sa Excel. Okay, so and then just read through this adjusted present value. Okay, that covers the whole of chapter 5, no? Chapter 19. So these are just some questions and summary. So chapter 19 is quite short, ilang pages lang siya. Okay, so what we're going to do now is open the Excel file. Kindly access the Excel file that I sent you. This is WACC exercise. So in order to drive home the point, guys, dun sa discussion ng text natin, gagawa tayo ng example tayo. Okay, kindly chat please if you are able to open already the Excel file. Okay, thank you. About the rest, guys, do you have the Excel file open already? We'll start with the first workbook. The notes, no? Okay, thank you. All right, so let's take a look at this. Prepare ko na notes para sa inyo. Now, we learned before that when you talk of capital structure, you talk about the financing used by the firm. So yung financing, pwedeng debt, pwedeng equity. Okay, pag capital structure, we actually look at the long-term debt, not necessarily yung spontaneous financing to yung current liabilities. So yung capital structure involves the long-term debt and the equity. Now, in order to determine if a project is acceptable or not, it's important that we know what is the weighted average cost of capital. Not knowing what the WACC is could lead the company to wrong decisions. So for example, itong example dito na nilagay natin, okay, si company gusto mag-invest ng 100,000 sa isang project, the useful life of the project is 20 years. Kinumpute yung IRR, 7%. Tapos kino-compare siya ngayon sa sa debt na 6%. And if we do that, the decision will be to accept the project, no? Kasi yung IRR 7%, tapos ang ginagamit lang na benchmark na basis is the debt, cost of debt, which is 6%. Now, 7% IRR, cost of debt 6%, natural guys, ang sasabihin natin, okay yung project kasi mas mataas yung IRR. So take note guys that it's just using one aspect of financing. Okay, and that can lead to erroneous decisions. On the other hand, ito naman, 100,000 din, 20 years, IRR is 12%. Tapos ang ginagamit dito yung equity na 14%. In this case, okay, ang sasabihin ng company dito, do not push through with the project because the IRR is less than the cost being used, no? In this case, yung debt in equity. Now, this is both wrong kasi ang dapat na ginagamit sa pag-determine if a project is feasible or not is what we call the weighted average cost of capital, which involves both debt and equity. Okay? Kasi financing yan eh. So ang financing, both debt and equity, unless walang equity o walang debt. Hindi naman pwedeng walang equity, no? Kasi hindi pwedeng mag-exist yung isang corporation kung walang shares of stocks. No? Okay, so what's the basic concept? So the basic concept is that it's important to be able to compute for the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so hindi pa pwedeng piecemeal approach. Yung piecemeal approach, yung debt lang or equity lang. Kailangan, guys, both. Kaya nga ba tayong weighted average, no? Cost of capital. Wini-weigh natin both debt and equity. Okay. Over the long haul, the firm must undertake investments that maximize firm value, and this will only be attained if it benchmarks its project cost on the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so we're going to look at and we're going to attempt to compute for the cost of debt, yung after-tax cost of debt. So Excel ang gagamitin natin para can easily compute for the cost of debt. And then cost of preferred stock, may formula dito. The cost of preferred stock is equal to the dividend over the price of the preferred minus the flotation cost. Ano tong mga formula na to? Yung D sub P, guys, that's the dividend issued by the preferred stock. Now, as far as the nature of preferred stock, para siyang debt, no? Parang utang din yan, parang bond. Pareho siya sa bond kasi yung binabayad niya na dividend is fixed. It's fixed. Ibig sabihin, hindi nagbabago yung dividend niya. So parang bond din siya kasi si bond magbabayad ng interest expense, di ba? Yung interest expense yan, fixed yun. So sometimes we call preferred stock as a quasi-bond, no? Quasi-debt, just like a debt. So we get because of the preferred stock if we know the dividends. Tapos kung magkano yung price ng preferred stock na yun minus the flotation cost. Yung flotation cost is the amount that the company has to pay the firm, the financing institution that it used in order to issue the preferred stock. Kasi minsan yung mga maraming beses pala, yung mga companies, they will hire investment companies in order to float their financing. Ibig sabihin, kunyari mag-i-issue siya ng preferred stock, gagamitin niya isang company para i-market yung preferred stock niya. Ganun din si equity. Si equity, guys, dalawang ways to compute for the cost of equity. You have the, this is from chapters, yung risk and return, no? Yung capital asset pricing model, okay, which is the risk-free rate plus the beta times the return of the market minus the risk-free rate. Okay, then we have here, ito yung gagamitin natin ngayon, ang tawag dito constant growth model, which I'll be explaining in a while. Okay? So once na makuha na natin yan, that's not yung cost of retained earnings, pareho lang yung sa cost of equity. Ang kaibahan lang dito, walang flotation cost yung retained earnings kasi hawak na ng company yung pera na yun. Okay, so the computation for the weighted average cost of capital is simply the weight of the debt times cost of the debt plus weight of the stock times cost of the stock plus weight of the preferred times weight of the preferred. Okay, so yun lang guys yung pag-compute ng weighted average cost of capital. Okay, let's go to worksheet number 1. And let's learn how to compute for the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so in this case guys, tatlo yung natin, no? Tatlo yung financing natin. Number 1 is may bond. Tapos ito, merong preferred stock. Tapos meron tayong common stock. Okay, so tatlong financing, bond, preferred stock, and common stock. So we know guys that the cost of capital will be the weight of the debt times cost of the debt plus weight of the preferred, cost of the preferred, and then weight of the common stock times cost of the common stock. Of course, ito dapat ito should be 1 minus the tax rate. Dapat after tax. Okay, so this is the formula to compute for the weighted average cost of capital, which we're going to do now. Okay, so let's start first with the bond. No? Yung cost ng bond, guys, it will be easier to it will be easier to understand this if we plot the cash flow for the bonds. So paano natin ipa-plot yung cash flow for the bonds? We have to understand ano ba yung nature ng bond na to. So let's take a look at this bond. So mangungutang yung company, ang maturity niya 10 years. Okay, ang interest is 10%. Okay, ang face value, ibig sabihin, ito yung babayaran niya. No? Ito yung in paper, ito yung inuutang niya 1,000. Okay, pero magkano yung makukuha niya? Now, no? Now, yung market value niya. Ito yung sinasabi, ang price niya 904.53. Okay, so pwede ba yun guys? Pwede ba yung uutangin kasi mas konti makukuha natin kasi inuutang ng 1,000? Yes, pwede yun. And that's what we call a discount bond. Discounted siya. No? There are several reasons why there can be a discount bond. No? Okay, number 1, baka very risky itong company na to. Okay, so hindi siya pwede mangutang na 1,000 tapos i-expect niya na 1,000 din yung 1,000 ibabayad niya pero ang bibigay sa kanya 1,000 din. Okay, so it has to be discounted especially kung very risky yung company na to. No? Okay, meron din natin na tawag na premium bond. Yung premium bond naman, okay, so borrowers or lenders are willing to pay the company more than the face value. So kunyari, the bond was selling at 1,005 pesos, then it's called a premium bond. No? Okay? Ibig sabihin nito, either less risky itong asset na to, o very, very attractive itong asset na to. No? Tapos meron man tayo tinatawag na par bond. Si par bond guys, kung ano yung value ng face value, yun yung price ng debt. No? Okay. So it's best to diagram this. So ilang years siya? 10 years. Okay, so let's see how the money flows. So from 0 yung mangungutang tayo, 1, 2, 3 hanggang 10. Ito yung cash flows natin. Okay. So these are our cash flows. Okay, identify natin guys, ano yung cash flow natin? Number one, at year zero, at time zero, mangungutang tayo, di ba? How much are we going to get? We're going to get based on the price. No? Ang price ng debt is 904.53. Di ba? Kaso, hindi yan makukuha lahat kasi may flotation cost tayo. Ibig sabihin, babayaran natin, we have to pay the agent, no? Okay, who floated this bond for us, ang fee nila 1% daw. So ang makukuha natin technically is the price less the 1%. So minus yung 1%, so that means 99% lang yung ano. So ito lang talaga yung proceeds natin, 895.48 per 1 unit ng bond. Okay, pero ang babayaran natin 1,000. Kitang-kita natin dito, based on the price of 904.53, this is a discount bond. Okay, and then magbabayad tayo. No? After na humiram tayo, at the end of the period, we're going to pay interest. Magkano yung interest natin? Our interest is yung coupon natin na 10% times, okay, it's the face value multiplied by 10%. So let me fix this. Fix natin. Tapos, negative kasi palabas yung pera. So guys, for 10 years, magbabayad tayo ng 100, di ba? Yun ang ibig sabihin ng utang. Magbabayad tayo ng 100 for 10 years. Where did we get that 100? Yung amount, yung face value, multiplied by the coupon rate. The coupon rate is the interest rate. Okay, and at the end of the period, babayaran natin yung, we will have to pay the face value. Okay, so ito yung cash flow. Ito yung cash flow ng bond na to. So meron tayong present value, may cash inflow tayo. Tapos meron tayong annuity na 100 for 10 years. Tapos meron tayong final value dun sa dulo magbabayad tayo ng 1,000. So based on that, guys, we can now compute for the rate, no? Using the rate function of Excel. So this is equal to rate. Okay. So what's our NPER? Our NPER is 10 years. Tama? What is our PMT? Yung PMT, guys, ito yung yung annuity natin na babayaran natin na 100. So dapat negative to kasi outflow to, no? Dapat mag-opposite yung outflow at saka inflow. Pwede naman mabago yung iba yung sign, pero dapat yung isa negative, yung isa positive. So ang PMT natin is, di ba, yung 1,000 multiplied that by 10%, di ba? So that's 100 pesos. Comma, what's our present value? Our present value is the debt, okay? The debt, the price of the debt multiplied by 1 minus the flotation cost. Okay? Minus natin flotation cost natin, and comma, what is our future value? Ang future value natin, yung babayaran natin in the future, that's negative 1,000. Negative kasi babayaran natin to. No? So yung mga negative dito, guys, mga babayaran natin. Tapos yung positive dito, yung present value, ito yung inflow. Eh, pwede rin opposite yung sign, no? Pwede rin yung PMT at saka future value, pwedeng positive yan. Tapos yung present value natin, yun yung negative. It doesn't matter. For as long as consistent tayo dun sa pag-ano ng negative. No? Okay? Alright. Alright, so it's 11.837. Okay? However, hindi pa ito tapos, guys. Yung 11.837 na yan, hindi pa natin na-consider yung tax effect. No? So we will have to multiply this by 1 minus the tax rate. We will have to remove, guys, the effect of the tax rate. Okay, di ba kasi sabi natin na si tax cost of debt, nagkakaroon tayo ng tax savings diyan. Pag gumagamit tayo ng utang, guys, to finance the firm, yung utang kasi may interest, di ba? So yung interest na yun, guys, that's tax deductible. So our tax is reduced because of the use of debt. Okay, so yung cost ng debt is effective na binabawas natin yung effect ng tax. Alright, so from 11%, 8.28 na lang. Okay, so let me pause for a while. Okay, and if kindly chat please if you're done para alam ko kung tutuloy-tuloy na ako. Okay, were you able to get guys 8%? Kindly chat please if you were able to get the cost of debt, the after-tax cost of debt. Okay, thank you, Jean. Okay, last, salamat, Amy, very good. Thank you. How about the rest, guys? Mark, salamat. Let's give a few more seconds to your classmates. I hope magdagdagan yung mag-chat, mag-confirm na nakuha nila yung cost of debt. Okay, good. Jasmine, Dai, thank you so much. All right, so salamat guys sa feedback, no? So ito guys yung cost of debt. 8.286. Ito yung gagamitin natin sa pag-compute ng weighted average cost of capital. This is your R sub D or your K sub D. Okay, next, yung preferred naman. Paano natin kinocompute to? So ang formula ng cost of preferred is equal to the dividend D sub P. Now take note the dividend is constant pag preferred stock. So hindi nagbabago yan. And then i-divide natin ang price netted against kung may flotation cost. Kung walang flotation cost, di zero to. Okay, so let's compute for that. Simple lang yung sa preferred stock. It's equal to the dividend, guys, 10 pesos. And then we subtract. Magkano yung price ng preferred ngayon? It's 100. 100 kaso, may flotation cost. So, hindi lahat ng 100 na makukuha ng company. We have to subtract yung 2% of flotation cost. Okay, so minus natin, guys, yung cost to issue preferred stock. Okay? Then we get preferred stock of 10.20. And dito guys, hindi natin kinukuha yung ano nito. We don't deduct tax. Kasi yung dividends naman guys, yung ini-issue dividends, wala namang, hindi naman sa tax deductible. No? If you prepare the income statement, you'll notice that after EBIT, hindi naman nagdi-deduct ng dividends para mabawasan yung tax. It's only the interest. All right, and lastly guys, ito, D1 over P sub O minus F. Ibig sabihin, ipabawasin natin flotation cost, but we will have to add the growth rate. Okay, remember guys, ang method na to is the constant growth rate model. Constant growth rate. Okay. All right. So let's compute for the cost of stock. No? Ang formula natin is D1 over the price less the flotation cost plus the growth rate. So yung data natin guys given na ang dividend natin, okay, take note that this is D0. D0 siya, which is dividend at dividend P is equal to 0. So dividend at time 0. Ngayon, no? Ibig sabihin, nabigay na itong dividend na to. Okay, pero ang kailangan dapat natin yung dividend after 1 year, D sub 1. So D sub O is different from D sub 1. Ang kailangan natin sa formula na to, D sub 1. So we can compute for D sub 1 if we know D sub O. Kasi alam natin yung growth rate. So ibig sabihin yung dividend ngayon, 3.96. We multiply it by the growth rate of, we let it grow by 6%. Okay, so let's do this. So yung numerator natin will be D sub 1, which is this one, D sub O times 1 plus the growth rate. Okay? So we let it grow by 6%. That will be D1. Okay, sometimes binibigay naman yung D1, so direct na natin gagamitin. Ito ang binigay yung D sub O, which is dividend at time t is equal to 0. So we will have to let it grow by 6%. And then i-divide natin itong price ng common stock, which is 70, but we will have to subtract, no, the flotation cost. Given a flotation cost 1 minus 5%. Okay? So ito guys, this is subtracting the flotation cost. No? So we just multiply whatever the price is by 1 minus whatever the flotation cost here is. So ibig sabihin, ito 95% to. 95% ng price ng common. Okay, and lastly, we have to add back plus your growth rate. Yeah. So that's the formula, guys, for the constant growth rate model. Okay, we did not anymore. This can be computed, guys. This can be derived, pero hindi rin natin kinompute yan sa subject natin. So we just take that as is as a formula, but that can be shown. That can be mathematically shown. Ito nga yung formula. All right. So you notice, guys, meron tayong cost after tax cost of debt, the cost of preferred, may cost of common stock. And this is consistent with the principle that yung cost of equity, common equity, is more expensive than preferred or cost of debt. Kasi si preferred, guys, si debt una, no, pag liquidation, sila una yung mga binabayaran. Okay, whatever the proceeds is from the, let's say, binenta na yung mga assets, magpo-fold up na yung company, magli-liquidate na sila. So binenta na yung mga assets, whatever cash there is available, ang unang babayaran si mga debt holders. Tapos sa mga si preferred, huli na si common. Mga residual na lang sila yung kung ano man natitira, kung may matira. So that's why, guys, since this is riskier, guys, mas mataas talaga dapat yung required return ng common stock compared to preferred at saka si debt. All right. Now, because we now have this K sub D, K sub P, and K sub C or K sub S, makukompute na natin yung WACC natin. So how do we compute for the weighted average cost of capital after tax? Kailangan kunin muna natin yung mga market values nila, no? Okay, so ang market value ni debt, how much is the price? Okay, tapos ilang units ng bonds. So ano lang natin to, format natin, control 1. Tanggalin natin yung dollar sign. Okay. Bold ko. Alright, so ito, ikakopy ko na lang down. Okay, kasi ang market value ngayon will simply be the price, the market price, multiplied by the units. Okay, so we can now compute for the percentage. Okay, yung shortcut na lang natin ng percentage is simply equal to whatever the debt value is divided by the total ng mga mga financing. And then we fix lang natin yung row. Okay, kasi ikakopy natin siya pababa. Okay, so that's 31.14%. Copy down. Okay, so ang debt ni preferred is 31%. Si debt, ang weight ni preferred naman is 8%. Tapos si common, 60%. Kita naman dito, di ba? Mas malaki si common. Okay, let me pause for a while, guys, and ask questions if you have any, please.
Sir, can you put the formula for Common stock after tax cost.
Common stock. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sure. Yung after tax cost niyan, guys, ano yan, for the debt lang yan. No? So let me just get water. Okay, guys, any questions? May questions pa ba? Yes?
Can I see po the formula dun sa preferred after tax?
Preferred, okay. Okay, we'll just follow the formula. Ito lang, ha? So that's the dividend divided by the price, net price. Dividend niya 10 divided by the price. Ang price siya 100 ka, so babawasan natin ang flotation cost na 2%. So that's why it's only 98% of the price of 100. Okay, thank you for that question. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Questions, guys? Okay. So we can now compute for the after-tax weighted average cost of capital. So, makakompute na natin to kasi may mga weights na tayo. Okay, may mga weights na tayo, tapos may mga individual cost components na tayo. So it will just be simply 31.14 times 8.29, 8.61 times 10.20, at saka 60.25 times 12.31. Okay, so ano lang yun, i-multiply lang natin, tapos i-add natin, which in Excel is shortcut niya, sum product. Sum product ng yung mga weights, okay, comma, at saka yung costs. Let me just put your weights. Yung mga weights natin. Yung percentage so para mas okay, so the after-tax weighted average cost of capital is 10.88%. Ito ngayon yung gagamitin natin, guys, sa pag-evaluate ng projects kung feasible siya o hindi. It's not the cost of the debt, it's not the cost of preferred stock, but rather it's the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, clear to guys? Clear yung WACC natin? It's simply the ipa-product natin sa weight at saka yung cost. Tapos i-add lang natin. Okay. No more questions? Okay, so medyo binabudget natin time natin, ano? So let's go to number 2. Similar tong problem na to, guys. So we have Number one, we have bonds, preferred equity, and common equity. So the the requirement is to be able to compute for the average after-tax weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so let's start with bonds. So yung nature ng bonds natin, face value 1,000. Gawin natin price, guys. Gawin natin premium bond, no? Gawin natin higher than 1,000. So this is what we call a premium bond. Ibig sabihin, this bond is selling at a premium. So a borrower should be willing to buy this bond at 1,005. Okay? Tapos at the end of the 10-year period, ang ibabayad lang sa kanya yung 1,000. That's what we call a premium bond. Okay. So as usual, guys, pag bond, guys, importante na tingnan natin kung ano yung cash flow dito. So ito yung makukuhang pera, di ba? 1,005. Kaso may flotation cost, no? So ima-minus natin yung flotation cost na 2%. And then, ang babayaran at the end of the period is 1,000. Interest is at 9%, so 1,000 times 9%. Kaso guys, 10 years to na frequency na 2. Ibig sabihin semi-annual to. So therefore, ang number of periods will be not 10 but 20. Okay, kasi semi-annual yung compounding niya twice, di ba? So that's 20 periods instead of just 10. So i-plot natin. So let's plot that. 0, 1, 2, 3. Hanggang 20. So litan ko na lang para mas makita natin sa screen. So what I'm going to do, guys, ano ko lang i-delete ko na lang to. Just to okay. Ibig sabihin, guys, hanggang year 20, no? Inano ko lang, in-abbreviate ko lang. Okay, first, magkano yung cash flow natin? Magkano yung matatanggap ng company? Magkano? Di ba ang bonds, guys, may papasok, may lalabas na pera, no? So ang papasok na pera is 1,005. Okay? Ito yung price ng bond. Eh. Pero this will be netted ng 2%. Mababawasan ng 2%, therefore 984.9. Okay? Although baka sabihin yung mukhang so discount bond na to, hindi. Hindi. Premium bond pa rin to kasi ang price talaga 1,005. Only si company babayaran niya yung mga financing agents na mag-float ng bond para sa kanila. Okay, second, ano yung mga babayaran? Interest. Magkano yung interest? Interest is 1,000 times 9%. 1,000 times 9%. Kaso, kasi semi-annual to, divide by 2. So it will not be 90, but rather it will only be 45. Kalahati lang. Yan. Tanggalin ko na yung decimal place. Okay? So 45, guys. 45. Okay, 45. Negative pala ito. Gawin ko negative para clear sa atin. Negative kasi magbabayad yung company ng okay, mali. I-fix natin lahat to. I-fix ko lahat, guys, para pag-copy ko dito pare-pareho lang. There, okay? So 45, 45, 45 up to 20 periods. No? 20 periods is 10 years. Semi-annual kasi. And at the last, guys, at the end, magbabayad pa rin ng face value na 1,000. Yan. 1,000. Negative din. Magbabayad. Utang to eh. Ngayon, makakakuha ng 84.9 and then magbabayad ng 45, 45 hanggang 20 periods. And then, at the 20th period, magbabayad din ng 1,000. Okay, so we can now compute, guys, for the rate or the price of the bond. It's called also the yield to maturity. So we use the rate function, rate. Okay, ko na lang kagad yung font. Okay, para kitang-kita. So this is equal to rate. Okay. Once again, what's our NPER? Our NPER is 10 years multiplied by 2. 20 periods yan. Tama. What's our PMT? Magkano yung babayaran per period? So it's the face value multiplied by the interest rate, okay, and then divided by 2. Kasi yung 9% annual yan, annual rate yan. So pag multiply natin 9% ng 1,000, that's 90, but that's for the whole year. So pag semi-annual, 45 lang, divide by 2. Tama? Lagyan natin negative to. Para clear sa atin kung ano nangyayari. No? Present value, guys, positive. Kasi nangutang tayo ng 1,000, pero that will be netted against the flotation cost. Yan. Okay? And then lastly, the future value is, again, babayaran natin negative. Magkano babayaran? Negative 1,000. Alright, ignore the type kasi annuity ordinary naman to. So there you go, guys. This is now your yield to maturity or the cost of the debt. Okay? Pag in-enter ko siya, no, 4.62, parang mali. No? Bakit? Kasi itong rate na to, guys, is for semi-annual. So we have to convert that to annual by multiplying it by 2. Okay, semi-annual kasi yan. No? So kailangan i-convert natin sa annual by multiplying. A period is has 2 semi-annual, dalawa yan, di ba? So times 2 natin. Okay, so it's 9.23, which is correct. No? Okay, so let me first show the formula. Okay, if you're able to get it, guys, chat naman, please. So that I know kung pupusit na ako. Waiting for your response, guys, kung may makakuha na. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Amy. Okay, let's wait for the others. Sana more than half makuha yung yield to maturity natin. So far, 10% pa rin nakakuha. I wish that more than half of the class. So thank you again. Thank you, Chloe. Let's wait for the others. Waiting for the responses, guys, of the others. Kindly chat naman, please, kung nakuha. If any questions, feel free to post them or unmute yourself. Wala na, guys. Tatlo lang ba? Tatlo lang yung nakasagot. Thank you, Mark. Good. Salamat, ha? Okay. Let's give your classmates a few more seconds and then we proceed. Okay. Right? Kasi medyo nag-budget time guys kasi meron pa tayong isang topic. All right. Thank you for those guys, who responded. So the cost of debt is 9.23. Kaso hindi pa tapos yan, no? Kasi dapat kukunin natin yung after tax. Remember, ang cost of debt, lagi natin binabawas yung tax rate. In this case, the tax rate is 30%. Okay? So that's the cost of debt, guys, yung case sub D natin to. Case sub D or others call it R sub D. Basta cost yan. Cost of debt. Case sub D or R sub D. Okay, so we're done with the cost of debt. How about the cost of preferred stock? Ganun din guys. Ganun din yung formula. It's a dividend divided by the price netted against the flotation cost. So the dividend, take note, walang ano yan, walang D sub 1, D sub 2, D sub 3 kasi ang dividend na preferred fixed, no? Fixed yan. So that's the dividend divided by how much is the price now? The price now is 125, and then we will have to subtract the flotation cost of 3%. Sinubtract natin yung flotation cost natin. So the cost is 9.07. Okay, 9.07% yung cost ng preferred stock. And lastly, yung cost of common equity. Ang formula natin, D sub 1 over the price, a net price plus the growth rate. Now, ang given sa atin dito guys, D1 na, no? D1. So ito ni gagamitin natin. Hindi na natin i-multiply ng 7%. Pag ang binigay sa atin, D sub O, okay, the dividend at time 0, then we will have to compute for the dividend at time 1 by multiplying D sub O and adding the growth rate of 7%. Okay, since D1 na yung binigay, so this one we're going to use, and then divided by, how much is the price? The price is now 41.5, but there's a flotation rate. Ma-minus natin yung flotation rate ng 8%. So that means 92% lang ng price na to. Okay, and then we have to add the growth rate of 7%. Control Enter. So the flash ko ulit. So pretty straightforward guys yung formulas, no? Okay, any questions? So our cost of debt is 6.46, cost of preferred 9.07, cost of common is 10.27. So we're now ready to compute for the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so kunin mo natin cost of financing. So ang debt natin 6.46. Preferred is 9.07, tsaka ang common natin 10. Oops, baliktad yata. Ang common pala na una dito, this one. Tapos preferred pareho. Tapos ang debt is this one. Okay. So we can now compute for the market value kasi alam natin yung mga quantities nila. Tsaka alam natin mga prices nila. No? So the market value for common is the price of the common, 41.5, multiplied by the number of shares outstanding. Okay, so let me just remove the Philippine dollars. Okay. How about the preferred? The preferred is, magkano yung price ng preferred? 125 multiplied by ilang shares outstanding. Naka-default ng dollar. And lastly, magkano yung bonds natin? Ang price niya, 1,005. Okay? And then, yung units niya, 3,100. Okay. So in this capital structure, pinakamalaking common, no? So we can get the weights, which is equal to the weight of the market value of the common divided by the sum ng lahat ng financing natin, fix natin, fix natin 0. Okay, control enter. Okay, so si common 74.34%, si preferred 2.3, si debt 23.3%. We now have our weights, and so we can easily compute now for the weighted average cost of capital, which is just the sum product of our weights and our costs. Okay, so let me just so that's our WACC after tax cost weighted average cost of capital 9.36%. Okay, let me pause for a while in case you have questions. I would appreciate, guys, you chatting if you were able to reach up to this weighted average cost of capital. Which are weighted after tax weighted average cost of capital. So that's the discount rate that has to be used when we evaluate projects, capital budgeting projects for this company. Paki-chat naman please, guys, kung nakuha kong 9.36. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. So lang. Thank you, Naki. Thank you, Amy. The rest, guys. I hope I get some more responses. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, Angelo. Good. Ano pa ba inform sa akin na nakuha nila? Sana umabot man lang ng 10, no? Kasi 4 pa lang yung nagsabi na na-compute nila yung WACC dito. Let's wait for a few more seconds. Ginagawa ko ng classmates.
Sir, while we're
Yes.
waiting, can I ask, when is
sure.
the date of the final exam again?
Sorry.
The date of the final exam.
Ano ko lang about as far as I know, February 15 nata. February 15 of 1 to 3.
All right.
And it's a departmental exam, which means that it will take precedence kung may mga conflict sa ibang subjects. Laging binibigyan ng priority yung departmental exams.
Stay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. So meron pa ba? Okay. Okay, thank you, Rance. Alright. So, ito yung gagamitin guys na weighted average cost of capital, no? When evaluating projects. Alright. Lastly guys, we have this investment opportunity schedule. Although hindi naman kasama to dun sa textbook, pero I just want to share with you itong very practical tool called the investment opportunity schedule. And you notice guys, meron tayong mga custom projects and we're given the internal rate of return. No? Okay, so anong projects dito ang gagawin if for example the budget was only 2 million? Okay, kasi ang cost ng, kung gagawin natin lahat ng ano, out equal to if you're going to do all these projects guys, ang total cost niya 2.7 million. No? What if the project, the budget is only 2.8 million? So ano dito yung gagawin? There are several ways to do this. One is just by looking at but one is by ranking the IRR. Okay, so let me instruct you please to please click yung iOS na workbook na to, and then paki-click unhide. Tapos may naka-hidden sheet dyan yung iOS 2. Okay? Alright, so take a look at this. So ito yung goal in mind natin. No? Ito yung gusto natin magawa. So what is this? This is your, we call this investment opportunity schedule. Okay? Ito yun. No? Ano ibig sabihin nito? It's a step ladder function and it tells us kung ano yung project ang gagawin, ang ipupush through. Okay. Dito na lang siguro. Okay. What project will be pushed through if, kunyari ang budget lang 1 million. So if you take a look at the 1 million cost ng budget, ang kakayanin lang, dalawang projects lang. Ito, this one, at saka ito. Kasi tumatama siya dito, no? Hindi nakakayanin itong third project. Kasi to include the third project, kailangan aabot ng this amount. No? So ang pwede lang si project, yung highest two, sino to? This is project H. Kasi siya yung may mataas na pinakamataas na IRR na 16.51%, etc. So how do we do this? Yun ang gagawin natin ngayon. No? So let's go back to the original worksheet. So pinakita ko na kung ano yung desired output natin, itong iOS plot. So ang question, how do we do this? Okay, itong iOS na to. Alright, so to preserve guys, to preserve yung ano natin, yung original data. Okay, let's copy the details. Okay, kinapi ko lang yung projects natin. Okay. And then we're going to arrange this. We're going to sort this by IRR. Kasi gusto natin makita kung sino yung pinakamagandang project based on IRR. So highlight ko lang to. And then how do we data, the sort natin by IRR. And then it should be from the largest to the smallest. There. Okay. So yung ranking ng mga projects based on IRR, pinakamataas si H, no? 16.51%. Okay. Tapos si G, 16.16. So pag in-add natin to, this is about 800,000. Kung may budget tayo na 800,000, pwede natin isama si H and G assuming they're independent projects. No? Pero pag 500,000 lang yung available na budget, then hindi pa pwedeng isama si G kasi kung itong dalawang ito isasama natin, 800,000 na ito. Alright, so what we have to do is to kukunin natin yung cumulative para alam natin kung pag ina-add up natin yung projects kung magkano na siya. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a column here. Insert muna ako, insert. And then i-cumulate natin siya. No? So total, cumulative. So you know how to cumulate, di ba? Tinuro ko na sa inyo yan. Get the sum of this and then colon Then fix the first one, fix natin yung row. Kasi kakopy natin siya pababa. Dapat gusto natin hindi siya aalis sa row 5 na yan. Okay, so ang total niya 407 pa rin. Pero pag kinumulate natin, tingnan nyo, no? Okay, so with project H and G, ang total na kailangan natin 803,979. Pagkasama si project I, around 1.25 million, etc. Hanggang pagkasama lahat, ito nga, 2.7 million. Okay, so we will plot this. Dapat ganito lumabas sa kanya. Okay, so let me move this here. So ang kailangan na lang natin guys, itong mga to, no? Itong mga accumulation. Kaso, naka-formula siya. So dapat tatanggalin natin yung formula. I'm going to remove the formula. I'll highlight it, Control C, and then paste values, yung values lang. So ngayon wala na siyang mga formula, no? Wala na siyang mga formula. Now, we need to do that kasi ito guys, ito yung step ladder function natin, ano? Ito si project H, tapos si project G, tapos si project yung susunod, yan, si project H, G, tapos hindi pala natin nakopy yung ano, no? Yung dapat pag-sort natin ito. Ay, ito na pala yan, no? HGIF. HGIF. Yan na yung ranking ng mga projects based on IRR. Okay, so let's now, so how do we create the step ladder? Ang technique natin dyan, gagawin natin ng range yung mga values natin. So first, we have to set yung values from 0 up to 47769. So that will create this line. Ito. So dapat meron tayong connecting 0 hanggang 407769. So how do we do that? Okay, I'm going to insert a column here. Ito. And the first value is 0. And then it will have the same IRR. 16.51. Copy ko lang to para makita nyo. Format, same format. All right. So what's happening here? So ipapaplot natin kay Excel to, no? From 0 up to 47769, ang IRR niya 16.51%. Ito 'yon actually ito. Itong line na to. So from 0 hanggang 407,769, ang ano niya, ang IRR ito, 16.51%. So nakita niyo guys, nagkakaroon ng line. Nagkakaroon ng line. So kailangan natin i-identify yung range na yan. Tapos paano ito bumababa? Yun ang question. Paano siya bumababa? From 1651 naging 16.16 na lang, no? Ito. So how do we do this step ladder function? Okay, maggagawa tayo ng technique dyan. Okay. So ito yung first range natin, di ba? Ngayon magdadagdag tayo in between the values. Mag-insert tayo ng insert. Okay, insert tayo ng insert, no? Para maano natin yung range. Insert in between the cumulative values. Insert. Insert. Okay. Yan. Okay, so insert na natin, ano? And then what we're going to do is we're going to, para bumagsak yung price, kasi dapat from 407,769 up to 803,978. Kasi yun ang susunod eh. Ito na, no? From 403, okay, hanggang 807 something. No? Ito yun. Ito yung portion na yun. So what we're going to do is, para bumagsak siya, gagawin natin, i-add natin yung previous na n plus, we're going to add a very small number, 0.01. Tapos, and it will be equal to yung susunod na IRR. Okay, so let me flash that. Okay. So lalagyan ko to ng marking para alam natin na ito yung dinagdag natin. Okay. Let me fill that there. Okay. So ngayon, pag prinat natin this is actually 407,769.01. It will be different from 407,769. That will cause the value to drop from 16.51 to 16.16%. Ito yon. Ipa-plot ni Excel itong line na to. And then copy na lang natin to, Control C, Control V, kasi we'll do the same for the other breakpoints. Okay, there. So yan yung mga breakpoints natin. Okay, ano tong breakpoint na to? Di ba yung may plus 0.1 siya? Plus 0.01. Yun. Okay, meron pa pala dito. Okay, hanggang second to the last. Meron pa dito. Kulang pa pala. There you go. Alright? Okay, so once you have this, guys, pwede na natin ma-plot yung step ladder function na to. So let me highlight this, highlight. Hanggang dun sa dulo, highlight. And then insert tayo, insert. And then ito. Okay, you can choose either walang dots o may dots, pwede rin to. Let me choose that. Yan, that's now our step ladder function. Ayusin na lang natin kasi medyo pangit siya, medyo mas taas siya, no? Ano ba yung pinakamababang IRR? 11.48%. Ito 0, no? So gawin natin, babaan natin. Right click this axis, format axis. Let's make the minimum as 10% na lang. 0.10. 0.10, enter. There, okay? Mas nakita natin yung galaw ng ano natin. And then let's give this a name. And this is equal to, nalagay natin yung ito. Ay, wag. Ano pala? Pangalan na lang. Investment opportunity schedule. Okay, lagyan natin ng pangalan yung ano, axis titles. So ito, and that's your internal rate of return, your IRR. Tapos dito, cumulative, no? Investment. So you can change the format of this. Pwede nyo baguhin sa design. Okay. Pwede yan. Or whatever, no? Black. Ito na lang muna, no? Okay. So we have this iOS. Okay, anong pinapakita sa atin dito, guys? For decision making. So this is ito. Pwede natin lagyan siguro ng label to, no? Okay. I'm not sure. Hindi data labels to. Okay. Anyway, I'll leave that to you guys. No? Yung pag pwede nyo medyo pagandahin yung konti. Ito. This would be my project. H. Kunwari, i-represent ito sa board. No? Siyempre, ang pangit naman kung ganyan. So, siyempre, pwede natin medyo baguhin yan. Format. Kunwari, shape outline, walang outline. Shape fill, walang fill. Okay, caption color na lang. Okay. Anyway, parang ganun lang. No? So this is project H. Control C, Control V. This is project I. Okay, etc. Okay, so ito yung step ladder function natin ng investment opportunity schedule. It tells us what project is best depende dun sa budget natin. Ito yung table natin, makikita natin. Ano? So, up to 803,000, wala yung ano. Ay, kailangan to ano. Ito. Para hindi mawala yung yan. Para hindi mawala yung tables. Okay? So, kung ang budget lang guys hanggang 400, yung first ano natin, si Project H, 407,000 yan. Si Project I, pag gagawin natin pareho hanggang around 804. Pag isasama natin yung next project which is project HG pala, no? Mali ito. Dapat G to G. This is project G. Okay, then project I, etc. So we can see here, ano yung mga projects na pwedeng piliin depende dun sa budget. Okay, kasi ito yung mga ano natin, no? So this is H. Ito yung H hanggang 40769. Tapos ito naman yung hanggang 803. Si Project G yan. Control C. Control V. Okay. Control C. Control V. Control C. Etc. So these are your projects. Okay, and we can see here guys, depende dun sa budget kung ilan yung ano, kung ano mga projects ang pwedeng i-follow or i-implement based on the IRR. Okay, so that ends our discussion, guys. That ends our lesson for the whole term. So, ang quiz nyo, guys, reminder, quiz natin will cover chapters 5 and 6, yung capital budgeting at saka itong weighted average cost of capital on chapter 19. Okay, so your final exams will be on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, 1 to 3 pero ipopost ko guys. Tapos it will cover the whole, no? The whole hanggang weighted average cost of capital. It will be multiple choice lang lahat yung guys, no? So concepts at saka yung some problems which I'm sure sa ano ba naman ang sa practice natin, sa mga ginawa natin, I'm sure you'll be able to compute for that. Although guys, may mga hindi tayo na-discuss sa class kasi hindi naman lahat ng computations ng textbook natin na-discuss natin kasi what we focus on were more the practical ones. No? So please read through your text and yung may mga computations parang yung last time guys, nag-quiz tayo ng risk and return. May mga questions doon na hindi natin diniscuss sa class which I anyway na-discuss naman sa text which I'm sure some of you got very high grades. May mga naka 100 nga. So ibig sabihin, nakuha niyo yung mga computations doon. Okay? So with that guys, thank you so much. I just close this session, stop recording.